and a lot of big ticket items. We made a lot of fun of him about it, but he never really got that stuff. Unfortunately for him, Mom and us three kids came first. He finally did get some of those items after he had put the three of us through college. Dad was always there if you needed him to help. He liked to do projects around the house and things. He'd look forward to come working on projects during visits when he came to visit you. You know, when you bought a new house, I know he helped us a lot with teaching us to wallpaper and all those things. He could fix about anything or tackle about any project. I don't know how he learned to do all of this stuff. He completely finished the upstairs of the house here at Crystal Lake himself, doing the drywall, the plumbing, and all the tile work. Brother-in-law and I, Tom, actually tried to help with the drywall, and we were asked to leave because the additional nail holes or hammer holes that needed to be filled. Amazingly, in 1989, he was just a few months short of 70. He built the mudroom and laundry room on the back of the house. He did everything himself except for the foundation. He created a great place for his children and grandchildren to come visit. That was his and Mom's intent. Dad struggled with grief after Mom's death, but after about a year, he was able to bounce back and enjoy life with some wonderful friends. Our dad lived a full and active life. Based on my math, he had about 1,100 good months of health and one bad. I never thought of Dad as a tough guy, but the last month showed me how strong and tough he really was. In 2008, Dad wrote up some words he wanted said on this day. And as Mom would say, the old German gets the last word. So here we go with Dad's last words. For about the last 50 years of my life, I've been plagued by, why am I me, why am I me, what makes me myself? Maybe now I'll get my answer. I've been fortunate to have a super lifetime, beginning with my birth on October 19th, 1919, and continuing with some of the following highlights. I was able to go to summer camp for 7 years as a youth. I was raised in the beautiful and safe community of Grosse Pointe. I had a blind date with the most beautiful girl in the world, whom I married, and had over 67 years of togetherness before her death on December 1st, 2007. I experienced the joy of raising 3 kids with Shirley, Sue, Cindy, and Mark, and was blessed by having 7 grandchildren. Without them, I would have never made it through Shirley's unexpected passing. I was lucky to have a wife that was a wonderful mother to my children. It was a great experience being stationed in the Pacific Islands of Guam, Tinian, and Peleliu while in the Navy. Excuse me. I experienced the joy of vacation and living on beautiful Crystal Lake. I thank God for my good health, which permitted me to play golf and tennis through 2010, and having a sister who outlived me. He actually shot 47 last year on the front 9 of Arcadia Bluffs, which was pretty darn good. He faded a little bit on the back. I was proud to receive my wings as a naval pilot of a 4-engine aircraft during World War II. My great designs resulted in 2 patents, which were used on most cars from about 1960 to 1995. While stationed in the Pacific in 1945, it was exciting to be one of the first 4-engine planes to successfully fly directly into the hot eye of a typhoon. I had a fun and loving marriage which included trips to Mexico City, Hawaii, England, Seattle, Vancouver, Banff, and Canmore, the last being Sedona, Arizona. The best were with the family for the last 50 years at beautiful Crystal Lake, where Shirley's ashes and mine will be spread. I am happy once again as I am with my buttercup. As you can see, I have no regrets and would do it all over again, especially marrying Shirley. I did make mistakes, mostly yelling, which some of us know about, which almost all were the result of my actions. I hope those affected, especially Shirley, will forgive me. And for the last time, Sammy, you made the pants too long. Thank you all for coming.
Good morning. For those of you that don't know me, I'm John Lohite. I'm Margie Lohite's son. Margie was Shirley Keller's sister. Mom asked me to read a few things, a few thoughts that she'd like to share, and I also have a few things that I would like to share. For any of you that might be longtime residents of the area around the cottage, you might remember me more with a mesh football jersey that said Gonzo on it, jumping around and running by the beach. So please purge those memories now. From Margie. I'm sorry that I can't be with you all today to say goodbye to my brother-in-law, Les. My first memories of Les, over 60 years ago, are of a good-looking naval officer in his uniform coming to pick up my sister, Shirley, for dates. Wow, I thought. He was pretty cool, especially when he arrived in his red convertible with the top down. On VJ Day, when the Second World War ended, he drove my friend and I and Shirley downtown to Detroit, with us banging a loud gong all the way to join in the celebration. Something I will never forget. To Les, I was always the bratty little sister. I'm sure that I lived up to that, although we always got along quite well. There were those who thought of Les as a bit on the gruff side, as he well could be. However, he very much had a soft side, and was one of those people who could definitely be there for you if you needed him, as he was for me when I lost my husband, Dave. He was quite a competitor. He loved his golf and tennis, but always, in my eyes, was a good sport. Les and Dave, the old Germans, as we called them, would spend hours on the Beulah tennis court. They would both stagger back to the cottage with leg cramps after their big battle over this level. My two boys, John and Steve, always went for our summer visits at Crystal Lake in anticipation of beating Uncle Les in tennis, which he would let happen here and there just to keep them happy. The kids all enjoyed hearing stories about Uncle Les' Navy days, which he told so well. Uncle Les also had his mischievous side. Back in the old days, he loved luring people onto his small sailboat and trying to dump them into the lake. His ape-face impersonation was known to all of the kids, as he would try to scare them with a flashlight under his chin while peering in the window at night. And then there was a whoopee cushion. We all know how much fun he had with that. We will all miss you, Les. My wife, Karen, and kids, Jennifer and Zibby, could not be here today. When I asked Karen how she was feeling about that, she said badly. While she didn't grow up with Uncle Les. She enjoyed Uncle Les a lot. And she feels closest to the entire Tower family. She asked me to share her condolences and that she is very sorry that she can't be here to do that herself. When I asked for impressions from Karen, Jennifer, and Zibby, the first thing mentioned was the 8 face. You know how some people just have that signature move? Well, I'm sorry, Uncle Les, but it appears that 8 face is yours. They also laughed as we talked about and remembered his antics with the whoopee cushion, the fart machine, as he got so much mileage out of it in Gulf Shores, the big bag of tennis shorts with his skinny legs sticking out, his sense of humor, and his storytelling. For me, I remember those matches that Mom mentioned in her comments, and I would like to footnote a portion of those comments here. I don't remember Uncle Les ever letting us beat him. As a matter of fact, I don't ever remember beating him. It may have happened, but it's such a minor memory and is overshadowed so completely by the number of times I lost that it just doesn't matter. I do remember that I would start practicing harder and harder as the trip to Michigan got closer. I couldn't wait to see if we could bring home the traveling trophy. I remember Uncle Les always being ready to go. At times it seemed as though we were almost being carried out the door by his drive and his energy. And we would play until the lights went out. I learned from Uncle Les, through his example, that there was never a good reason to sit on the sidelines. Being out there, competing, giving it everything, and then laughing and trash talking afterwards, that was what it was all about. Being with everyone as one big family at the cottage, hanging out, going to the beach, swimming to the line, playing pranks, the traveling underpants, playing tennis, darts, golf, and games of 99 that stretched into the wee hours. I know that I can speak for my brother and my sister when I say that these are some of the best memories we have from our childhood. And Uncle Les was right in the middle of those. This would be an appropriate time to sing Good Night Les, our Party 99 game song for him, but I'm afraid I couldn't pull that off. I will never forget the first time that I spoke with Uncle Les after my dad passed away. He was apologizing to me for not being on the court that day with my dad. He was certain that if he had been there, he would have recognized that something was going on. He would have been able to help. He could have changed the course of events that day. That was a part of who he was. I told him that there was nothing that he could have done, but I know that it hated him. He was there for us, he was there for my mom, and I could never thank him enough for that. We all have 2 things in common. One day we are brought into this world, and on another day, hopefully after a full and very blessed life, we are taken away from this world. In between, we make a lot of choices and decisions that shape who we are, what we mean to those around us, and ultimately what we leave behind. We are blessed if we leave behind memories that others will cherish. We are blessed if we leave behind a family that will carry on. We are blessed if we leave a few footprints that others consider worthy to follow. Uncle Les is a very blessed person. We have many memories that we cherish of him and of time spent with him. He has a wonderful family that will carry on, and he has left some footprints that many of us will find worthy to step into and follow. And we are all blessed to have lasting memories that we have of him. In closing, I'm certain of one thing. When Uncle Les arrived at the pearly gates, Aunt Shirley and my dad were standing with their rackets next to the open tennis court just inside. And the good news for all of them is that the lights in those courts never go out. Thank you.
I'm Dan, son-in-law. Les Power was a different person to all of us. Father, grandfather, uncle, brother, companion. Golf buddy, tennis victim probably. And for me, he was my project buddy. Whenever I came up here, there were always projects to do. And one of the first things that I learned about Les is that in doing a project, in the end, there was really only one way to do something. And it was Les's way. And it got me to wondering what makes somebody be like this, but the more that I worked with him, the more that I got an understanding of the fabric of the man, the way that he navigated through life. And I think a major part of that were the things that happened to him early in his life, specifically when he was in the Navy as a pilot. Few people knew that Les Clower flew the most dangerous aircraft during the most dangerous time to be airborne over the most dangerous place in the world at the time. And few of us can imagine how the pressure of serving overseas with the tenuous life all around us as a daily reminder might shape how we would navigate through life. But Les was that young navigator during that time on one of the most hazardous aircraft to ever fly in the Pacific. Crews affectionately called his B-24 Liberator the Flying Brick because of its rectangular, lumbering shape. It was one of the heaviest planes in the war, yet ironically had no way to steer the wheels. Pilots had to throttle the engines on opposite sides of the wings to even make a turn. Piloting one was like a cross between driving a bulldozer with propellers and taming a bucking bull when airborne. Top it off with plaguing mechanical failures, and it was little wonder that some of the crews called it the Flying Coffin. The B-24 was such a dangerous plane to fly, they actually trained Corps members on how to survive a crash almost as much as they trained them to fight. In fact, during the last 3 years of the war when Les served, more aviators died from accidental crashes than in enemy combat. Yet Les, with his crew, not only flew the dangerous Liberator into the Pacific skies on repeated missions, theirs was one of the most hazardous, weather reconnaissance. On some, Les and his crew flew repeatedly into tropical storms, including typhoon. And over the expanse of the Pacific, attempting an emergency landing on water usually meant a fatal crash landing, because the ungainly B-24s usually tore apart when they skidded into the shark-infested waters. Les would tell of the stories. He'd always shake his head and he'd say, yeah, boy, we really did some crazy things back there. We would even fly into the eyes of these typhoons, and suddenly it would be as calm as could be. And it would be so bright with the sunshine. That's when I was on block. It was a time when an entire world had gone crazy. Nonetheless, brave young men, including Les, had to control their fears and be level-headed during hazardous duty. Les must have impressed them with his engineering ability because he became the B-24 navigator in addition to being a co-pilot, which was one of the most formidable tasks that involved complex trigonometry, calculated from a crowd of instruments within the shaking fuselage and deafening roar of 4 engines. It was said that pilots got all the glory, but it was the navigators who steered their crews home across the endless expanse of the Pacific. Seeing him on the golf course all those years later, few would recognize the part of the man who would risk his life daily for a nation engulfed in war. He had guided his crews into raging storms, then back again to some tiny speck of land in the middle of the Pacific. All this shaped who Les became as a man. Temperamental at times, confident always, assured of his compass heading as he navigated through the complexities of life, far away from the memories of it.